John Kerry says the war in Ukraine is bad for climate change. I hear it's also not great for Ukraine. RFK Jr. was censored at a censorship hearing, and will Trump be arrested again? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Let's start off with some good news for a change. A new drug, donanemab, was shown in studies to slow the onset of Alzheimer's disease by up to 35%, stalling the condition for up to a year when taken at the earliest signs of illness. Though a few of the participants in the study did experience serious side effects, such as brain swelling. But leading Alzheimer's researchers in the UK were optimistic. They called this a turning point and said the illness could one day be treated as if it were diabetes or asthma, which is great news. This means there's hope of overcoming Alzheimer's for our grandparents, ourselves in the future, and most importantly of all, 90% of Congress. Let's just hope they remember to take their medicine. Speaking of medication, the Food and Drug Administration approved the U.S.'s first over-the-counter birth control pill. It's called O-Pill from manufacturer Perrigo, and it's expected to be available for purchase early next year. There's no word yet on the cost, but Perrigo said they're committed to making the pill affordable and accessible. But one drug company's affordable and accessible is another regular person's OMG, that's expensive. And there's no guarantee on insurance coverage, but this really isn't that big of a deal. There's already been an over-the-counter method of preventing pregnancies for years. It's called Crocs, especially when you buy little mini Crocs to put on your Crocs. Because when you wear those, you don't have to worry about anyone being in the mood to get pregnant. Millions in the US and throughout the world are facing near record temperatures this week. And there's only one thing that could be causing this: the war in Ukraine. At least according to US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry.
Lots of parts of the world are exacerbating the problem right now. But when you have bombs going off and you have damage to septic tanks or to power centers, etc., you have an enormous release of greenhouse gas, of methane, all of the family of greenhouse gases. And the result is it's adding to the problem.
Okay, but couldn't someone make the argument that war is good for the environment since killing so many people eliminates countless carbon footprints? Maybe that's what Kamala Harris meant when she implied population reduction is good for the planet, saying, when we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water. You see, the military-industrial complex isn't evil. They just care about a cleaner planet for our grandkids to drop bombs on. But there's one way the Russian-Ukraine war can end, and that's Donald Trump. This is according to Donald Trump. Trump said if he wins the 2024 presidential election, he could stop the war immediately. He explained, I would tell Zelensky, no more, you've got to make a deal. I would tell Putin, if you don't make a deal, we're going to give him a lot. We're going to give them more than they ever got if we have to. I'll have the deal done in 1 day. 1 day. He's gonna make a deal. This can only mean one thing. Trump has finally written a sequel to Art of the Deal. He's trying to bring peace to promote his new book. But I believe he can do it. I mean, if there's one man who's never made wildly self-aggrandizing bold claims for things that never actually get done, it's Donald Trump. But I wouldn't rule it out, because the last time someone told Trump he couldn't do something, he became president. So prove me wrong, Donnie. Prove me wrong. And after the break, the Ukraine war isn't the only thing that could soon disrupt supply chains. Welcome back. 340,000 UPS workers could go on strike by August 1st if an agreement isn't reached over a cost of living adjustment and additional pay for part-time workers. This would be the largest strike against a single employer in U.S. history. UPS is the largest delivery service in the U.S., and a strike would cause massive disruptions and cost the economy an estimated $7 billion. FedEx executives wrote in an internal memo, in the event of a market disruption, no carrier can absorb all UPS volume. Which is true, since Amazon drivers can only fit so many pee bottles in their trucks. The president of the Teamster Union asked the White House not to intervene, like how Joe Biden stepped in to avert a rail workers' strike last year. I think we should give these workers what they feel they're owed to prevent this strike. Partly to avoid damage to the economy, and mostly because if I have to wait an extra day to get this Taylor Swift-inspired Gilmore Girls shirt, I will literally die. On July 4th, a judge ruled the Biden administration couldn't coordinate with social media to censor content. Biden's Justice Department appealed. They really want to be able to censor people. And now, an appeals court says they can censor content while the case is being appealed. The Department of Justice argued they need to be able to tell social media sites what is accurate information in the event of emergencies. And the government is always great at telling us what is accurate information. Texas officials installed a floating border wall along the Rio Grande River. A floating border wall. I know it's summertime, but these water sports are getting ridiculous. While there is a crisis on the border, some think things are going too far. Records say Texas troopers have been told to push children back into the river. Kids love to swim, though, and if they drown, that's just good for the environment, right? Texas Governor Greg Abbott condemned those orders. Meanwhile, Mexico says the Texas floating border wall may violate a treaty by crossing the boundary into Mexico's side of the river. In other words, Mexico is complaining about Americans illegally crossing their border. And now an update to the story I covered on how some say the anti-child trafficking movie Sound of Freedom is a gateway to the far right. Some are saying theaters are sabotaging showings. They say the theaters are not turning on air conditioning, leaving the lights on, and claiming the projectors aren't working and telling audiences to come back and see a different movie. Some people blamed AMC, but AMC theaters weren't the only ones experiencing the problems. And AMC CEO Adam Aron denied involvement. This could be an attempt by local employees to prevent people from seeing this movie. Or it could be teenagers getting paid minimum wage at a summer job their parents forced them to get aren't great at providing a pleasant movie-going experience. Honestly, it's 50-50 either way. This is almost as bad as when theaters ruined moviegoers' experience watching The Flash by playing The Flash. I'm still waiting for a refund and an apology. And after the break, RFK Jr. is accused of anti-Semitism. Welcome back. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was accused of making anti-Semitic and racist remarks during a press dinner in New York City.
COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacks certain races disproportionately. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
RFK Jr. thinks COVID didn't kill that many Chinese people? Wow, he really is a conspiracy theorist. Or he just trusts what the Chinese Communist Party says, not sure which is worse. The guy listening to him talk about this theory is the poster boy for Press X to doubt. The Congressional Integrity Project, a Democratic watchdog group, called for Kennedy to be disinvited from a House Select Subcommittee hearing on the weaponization of the federal government, to which Kennedy said this is an attempt to censor a censorship hearing. He ultimately attended, though, and Democrats attacked him over his comments. Kennedy denied that his remarks were anti-Semitic, saying this was an off-the-record conversation and that he didn't imply COVID-19 was developed to spare Jewish people, only that the U.S. and other countries are developing ethnically targeted bioweapons, and COVID-19 seemed to disproportionately affect certain races. Now, to be fair to Kennedy, the National Institutes of Health did put out a report saying COVID-19 disproportionately affected Americans of color, but they said it was due to inequality. Meaning the coronavirus wasn't a bioweapon of China, it's a bioweapon of white supremacy. I'm surprised it wasn't called the KK COVID-19. Speaking of presidential contenders, the No Labels Party, a centrist third party that focuses on bipartisanship and working cooperatively to solve issues, held a town hall event in New Hampshire and laid out what they called a common sense platform. No labels? That sounds like what guys in New York say when the girl they've been seeing for 3 months asks what they are. Hey, we're just having fun here. No labels, okay? Many Americans have long hoped for a viable third party. And yes, I said viable. Sorry, Greens and Libertarians. Go back to your plant/porcupine holes. In a nation of such plenty, it's sad that Americans have more choice in Cheez-It flavors than political preference. You can get white cheddar, Parmesan, pepper jack, extra toasty, and flaming hot, while in politics, you get the old guy or the old guy who looks like he's coated in Cheez-Its. Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, a Republican, showed support for No Labels, saying, right now we have campaigns run by Biden and Trump that are far more about style than substance. This is trying to call the campaigns to be about substance, not style, to actually engage with the American people about the issues that confront us. You'd think being nonpartisan would be a nonpartisan issue. And you'd be right, it isn't partisan. Several Democrats, Republicans, and media outlets are standing together against no label, fearing a presidential candidate from them could siphon votes from Biden and lead to a Trump victory. It's not partisan, it's just anti-Trump. A bipartisan organization called Citizens to Save Our Republic is dedicated to stopping no labels from running a presidential campaign in 2024. So a bipartisan group is trying to stop a bipartisan group because they're bipartisan. Because while doing away with tribalistic partisan politics and working together to lead to a better future is something all Americans want, we can't do that if it means Trump would win. And on that note, just a quick reminder, Trump has been criminally indicted twice and potentially a third time soon, since Trump claims he's about to be arrested after receiving a letter from special counsel Jack Smith indicating he's a target of the January 6th probe. If you're afraid of losing to a guy with possibly 3 criminal indictments against him, maybe the issue isn't a third party, but the fact your platform and results aren't connecting with the American people. Am I out of touch? No, it's the voters who are wrong. But No Label co-chairman and former Senator Joe Lieberman said the No Label party would stay out of the race if polls showed they would be a spoiler and wind up getting either the Democratic or Republican nominee elected. But if polls showed people want to vote for someone less politically extreme, the No Label party will run a ticket with 1 Democrat and 1 Republican. Some are saying Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who's butted head with his Democratic colleagues many times, may be the party's nominee, since he spoke at the No Label town hall. Manchin said he isn't ruling out a third-party run and that if he gets into the race, he's going to win. But Manchin is 75 years old, so to give America a drastically different alternative, the No Label party might be going with yet another geriatric candidate. But on the bright side, at least now we can slow down their cognitive decline, with only a slight chance of some brain swelling. So what do you think about the stories we covered this week? Leave your comments below. And if you want to help us deliver nonpartisan news, support America Uncovered by going to americauncovered.locals.com. All it takes is a small monthly contribution to help us keep making great videos. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.